Okay, so we are doing the Olivia Parker assignment, and as you can see, we have shadows. It is the time of day when the sun is definitely moving in a direction. It is over that direction, and you can see when I point it that way I get flare. But then I have the items that I showed you this morning. So Olivia Parker uses shadows to tell a story. So we're going to keep that in mind as we go through this. We're also going to think about the vocabulary, the things that we've already learned in class. We learned hierarchy, right? We learned the rule of thirds, and we learned about light direction. So this light is going in this direction, and you can tell by the shadows, it's going this way. And I have this parchment paper that I was going to use underneath, but I actually like this table better. I like the texture of the table. So I'm going to actually go ahead and use the table. So the only problem with this time of day for the light is the shadow's really long. So it's pretty hard for me to include that whole shadow in the picture. So that's the only problem. So you got to really check your time of day and use a time of day that's going to work for you. This time of day is a problem again because I can't get the entire shape of this piece of this thing. It's armature, right? It's for drawing. I can't get the entire piece in there right now because of the time of day. So that's a little bit of a problem, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So in this image, this morning I grabbed some stuff that I showed you. I actually have this picture, which I really like, and I'm going to make that my main focal point, the photo. So I'm going to move this around and put it in my rule of thirds, right? So in this picture, if I take it here, then that would be my rule of thirds. Now this shape, I'm going to be really careful with shape and make sure that this thing isn't in a strange shape that makes it look, it needs to make it look like it goes with the story. So the story isn't going to be a sad one, so I don't want my armature to be in a shape that is a sad story. So I'm going to go ahead and keep moving this armature around until it is the shape that I want it to be. I have a little bit of wind, so that's going to be an issue. Next, I have some pieces that actually are going to just help me stay in the frame. I'm going to put them at the edge of the frame to keep your eye in the frame. But the shape isn't necessarily going to be critical. In this case, I can even tip it down if I don't like the shape. I can change the direction, right? And direction was one of our words, right? We're trying to create a direction. We're trying to make our viewer go around the frame. So we're trying to use the rule of thirds, and we're trying to use hierarchy. What does our viewer look at first, and then what, and then what? So I am going to go ahead and there goes my picture. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I'm going to put something on it temporarily. So I'm going to put this on it to hold it down, and maybe I'll keep it on it and put it down there. So far I have these three objects. I showed you this morning. I kind of like it. It is a tag off of something, and I really like the way this tag looks. It's an interesting shape. It has this little string on it, which is interesting, and I want to move it around until it looks kind of good. But I don't want it to have any weird tangents. And we talked about tangents. And tangents is just where things line up together. So right now I'm going to move that so there's not a weird tangent. There's a tangent here where this line and that line are bumping into each other. So I'm going to move it over so there's no tangent. Now there's a tangent in the head, right, of this armature. So I'm going to move it over so it's not in the head. So there you go. We can see now we have this object and this object. And I'm going to try to do 3 objects because 3 is an odd number and we like odd numbers. I kind of like this as a way to add another shadow in my picture. So I might add that up here to keep us in the frame. That way we have a little something up there. Now we have our guy here. I feel like the balance is off on this still, so I want to incorporate my next object. So I found these feathers, and there's stories about feathers having to do with like honor and different things. So feathers can be really symbolic. So I'm going to use feather in this image to tell a story. So we have voyage. We have this crown with a Q. It's like, so voyage of a queen, maybe. So, and then over here we have this, this person, right? So right now our eye goes through this frame in this direction. So it is working to create, there is a way for our eye to travel through the image. And we've been talking about that as far as hierarchy goes. One of the problems is his head is right there on that Q. So I am going to move my shape over a little bit so that those two things don't overlap in an awkward way. I didn't like that feather. I felt like it was too small. So I have another one here that I am going to try and make sure that my hierarchy is working. And that I look at that in a certain order. So what do I look at first? What do I look at second? What do I look at third? Remember, that's hierarchy. So, okay, so it looks like it's working, and I will keep moving this around and eventually get a good shot. But don't give up. Remember to use your elements and principles of design. And don't forget that when you're putting your objects together, once you put those things in the same frame, they start to tell a story. All right, so have fun with it. Find interesting objects. Create a hierarchy, first, second, third. Remember that you want your viewer to look all the way through the frame. So move stuff around until you feel like that works. It happens. All right, so have fun with it and good luck.